Hi, my name is Nathan and welcome to not only my first YouTube video but also the first installment in router how-to and practical application. For this project, I'm going to be building a shelving extension in my closet to supplement what's already there. I've got some plans written down. Let me show you the plans here. It's pretty much an L shape. This is going to be the left side, the right side, the top, and the bottom. The other shelving is right here. It's just going to butt right up against it. The lines are pretty light, but you can see it's going to have two levels, and then the bottom of it's just going to be carpet. This is a router here. Essentially all it does is spin this right here. And there are different kinds of bits depending on what you're trying to do. A couple distances you're going to want to know. You're going to want to know the distance from the outside of the guide to the front of the cutting edge. Well, one of the many nice things about this particular kind of ruler is that if you get the right one, you actually have a slide rule that comes out, which can be really, really handy. One of the reasons I like it so much is you can actually take this here and you can just extend it out onto over to the bit, and you can get a very, very accurate distance between the blade and the guide edge, and that's going to be 2 7/8. 2 7/8. I would write that down. I already have. And then you're also going to want to know the distance between the guide and the far side of the cutting bit. Now, whatever bit you have, it's going to have it listed what the diameter of the bit's going to be. But if you didn't trust it and you wanted to double check, you could simply just run it to the far side. This bit is a quarter inch wide. So if you add a quarter to 2 7/8, you're going to get 3 1/8. So, and it looks like that's exactly right, 3 1/8. And I would also write that down because you're going to want to know it when you're setting up your guide to do the cutting. We'll start with this cut right here. The guide is very simple. You can use anything you want that's straight and it's at least as long as the piece of wood that you're using. You could cut on this side or you could cut on this side. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to put my guide on this side of the wood because I have more area to put it and a larger area to clamp it down and make changes as I need them. I'm cutting on this side of the line. So that means that as I push the router up to the guide, I'll be using the close side of the bit, essentially. So I'm going to be using that measurement, and to do that, all I'm going to do is, since I know the distance and I know that these marks are at 32.5, I would simply go it's 2 7/8 there, 2 7/8 here also. Okay, so I've got my guide on, and it's pretty close. And as I put this on here, all I'm doing is I'm looking at the bit and if it crosses the line or how close it is to the line. And it looks like I'm a little bit close to the line. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the hammer, and it's going to allow me to make smaller, more accurate adjustments than if I were to take these off and redo. Okay, so that's pretty close right there. Now I'll go ahead and make the cut, and you'll get to see what it does, what a router is capable of doing. Very nice, very accurate cuts. If your whole setup's correct, then your cuts will be fantastic. What I'm going to do now is unlock this. This is the lock. This is what allows it to go, prevents it from moving up and down. So I'm just going to lower the bit down, maybe a eighth of an inch down, and that'll be the first depth of the cut that I make. Alright, that was the first cut. I'll take these off and take a look at it. So as you can see, a very nice, very clean cut. So with this cut here, I'm going to have to go straight across and then down. There's two ways to do this. One way is to just set my guide here and go straight across and stop when I get to that point. And then once I cut all the way through, I'll lift my guide up, move it over here, and then do the same exact thing. Cut all the way until I get to this line. But what I'm actually going to do here, to kind of give you an idea about the different setups that you can use if you're using a router, I'm going to actually set this guide here, and then I'm going to build a jig, sort of a guide, square guide, and what it's going to do is it's going to allow me to cut all of this in one go. I'm going to be able to use the guide to cut this line here, and then when it hits this corner, I'll use it to cut down as well. So I'll set that up for you. You can see how it works. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is figure out what side of the line I'm going to be cutting on, and if I need to use the distance from here to here or here to the far side. And if you're doing this at home, not this particular project, but if you're using a router at all, you can just set this guy down, zero out your height here, and set it on the line, and make sure that once your guide's in place, that you're not going to be cutting on the wrong side of the line. You don't want to cut on the project side of the line. You want to cut on the scrap side. So since I'm going to be setting up my guide on this side, the distance this is a predetermined distance. I've already figured it out. 2 7/8 is what it's set at. So I'll just set my end on the line here, and I'll go 2 7/8, which is going to put me right there. 2 7/8, and I'll also do the same. Let's do a little circle here so I know I'm using those. 2 7/8. And 2 7/8. First, what I want to do is actually get this guide set up, and then I'll figure out how I'm going to secure it to the wood so it doesn't move. Okay, so essentially what this does is it gives me a movable guide. I can move it back and forth as I need. And also, the screws are easy to move, so if I find that I need more space over here and less over here, I can easily do that with just removing these screws and scooting this piece. So what's going to happen here is I'm just going to screw it down to the wood. Not the project wood, but the wood underneath, which I'll end up using, but a small screw hole isn't going to make that much of a difference. This is not, it's not that kind of a project. I'm going to put in my sides here. And I have my lines marked. Okay. So this is what we got here, and you can see this is just I mean maybe a 32nd of an inch. It's a very shallow cut, and that's just to make changes if I need to. I haven't completely butchered the piece of wood, and it still allows me to make small changes without having to start over again. Anyways, as you can see, that the jig works exactly like I wanted it to, and now all I have to do is just incrementally set my depth in order to cut all the way through the wood. So you can see here that it's a very nice, very accurate edge, and this is essentially one of two pieces that are going to look like this.